BeTheTalk, episode 297, featuring Stephanie Domas. Welcome to BeTheTalk. We go behind the talk 7 days a week for tips and techniques to help you change the world. I'm Nathan Eckel, and a talker myself. I'm interviewing others who change the world with their talk. You can too, even if you've never given a talk before. Let's get started with today's show. We are live with Stephanie Domas. Stephanie, are you ready to talk?
I am. Thank you for having me.
Stephanie Domas is VP of Research and Development at MedSec, where she leads cybersecurity products and services to support hospitals as well as medical device manufacturers on the design, verification, security risk management, and penetration testing in the development of medical devices. Stephanie Domas, welcome to the talk.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Your talk is called Protecting Medical Devices from Cyberharm. And this is one of those neat talks where it opens us up to a world that we don't even really think about, a very important world where currently, according to your talk, 1 in 4 medical devices are connected. And I remember you mentioning Dick Cheney, the former vice president. He actually had his pacemaker not disconnected, but taken offline because of the possibility of cyber harm. And much of your talk is very reassuring. I'd love for you to just kind of take us behind the talk.
Sure. So you bring in kind of the great highlights from the talk, where a lot of what I wanted to do was I wanted to bring awareness to the public. I wanted people to understand that there is this risk that medical devices are now connected. They have your data, and they do, in fact, have the potential to harm you. But on the other side of that, knowing that a lot of good work is being done to try and protect those medical devices and protect people from coming to harm against their medical devices. So that was kind of my main goal. And as you said, it's an area where a lot of people don't think about. They don't think twice before they get hooked up to a medical device about whether or not that medical device could potentially harm them.
Well, and there are all kinds of considerations, really drilling down to the basics, though. You describe yourself in the talk as an ethical hacker. You're working within the system to find any future vulnerabilities. But even beyond that, I think as a fellow designer of content instead of medical devices, but I agree totally with you that the real way to protect is in starting with the end in mind at the design phase. And a lot of things can be avoided just by having a solid design at the start. So my question is, how are you designing things? Do you have access to the front end of design, or were you speaking to that and you're basically testing things out on the back end, or how does it work from your perspective, Stephanie?
So our team kind of works throughout what we call the product development life cycle with medical device manufacturers. So MedSec is a cyber consulting firm. We don't make or design medical devices, but we work with medical device manufacturers. And the ones that really take cybersecurity seriously, they have us in there from the very beginning, before even a single line of code gets written, to help them come up with a good secure design. There are a number of med device manufacturers who they're coming around to the idea. It's not that they don't want to do the right thing. It's that they don't appreciate how prolific the problem is. So they'll bring us in towards the end to have us do that hands-on hacking where they say, well, we think we did a good job. Can you try hacking this device and tell us how we did? And I can tell you that we have never gone into one of those encounters where we did not find a few dozen problems. Ooh. So I have yet to encounter a device where they actually secured it. That's not to say they're not doing a good job. It's just to say that cybersecurity is really hard.
Yes. Yeah, the complexity and the technologies, and folks, Talk Universe. If you're thinking about this, think about the last time that you had to upload or renew your Windows operating system or your Mac operating system, and if you were silly, in my opinion, enough to do that right at the beginning, there's all kinds of headaches, all kinds of things that don't work. And really, Stephanie, is that a good way of describing kind of what you're up against here?
It is, and it's even harder than that because in a Mac, for example, when I apply an update and something doesn't work, typically there's not a lot of fallout or harm that happens. People can't use a piece of their laptop, a piece of software they like crashes. But think about that in the context of a medical device. If you apply an update and suddenly it doesn't give the right dosage, or it can't even deliver a dosage of something, that becomes unacceptable. So it's actually, the stakes are higher in medical devices.
Absolutely.
And you think things like Macs, if somebody has a 2-year-old Mac, they're probably already thinking, this thing is old, I need a new one. Most medical devices their lifespan is typically more around 10 to 20 years. So you're talking very antiquated technology that still works. And it's hard to justify the expense of replacing it when it works. So it's actually substantially harder than what those companies typically come up against with your traditional laptops or phone updates.
10 to 20 years. So that I remember 20 years ago, we were all running scared about Y2K, and the traffic lights were going to explode and, or flash green in all directions. And there were all kinds of debates that were going on. You're dealing with, medical devices, pacemakers, things like that, some of which are Y2K or even pre-Y2K era. So, almost analog. They're not analog, right. But I mean, what is the landscape? What do you kind of triage these things? How do you deal with what needs to go or what can stay and what could happen?
That's where it's tough, because that's actually the piece that comes down to more of the awareness of patients. So right now, there are medical device manufacturers making new versions of medical devices that are more secure than the old versions. But hospitals cling to these old versions because, for all intents and purposes, they still work. And when you don't have patients saying or asking about cybersecurity, where is the motivation for them to replace devices that are working with more secure versions? And I'm really not faulting the hospitals. They have a lot of, financial obligations. It is hard to say replace this $10,000 pump simply because it is old, even though it still works. But that's where you start to have that education of patients coming in and saying, what's the cybersecurity of the med devices that you're going to use in my surgery? And that helps push the community forward, because suddenly now there is reason for hospitals to update.
Well, it almost reminds me, there's that whole debate, and I have a number of healthcare people in my family, so I'm privy to some of these conversations. I know it's taken so long for electronic medical records to be really implemented, and it's kind of like this: if it's not broke, don't fix it mentality. Just because hospitals are trying to keep going and stay alive and keep people alive and not try to necessarily be on the bleeding edge of everything. And then you've got these new drugs and prescriptions coming out, and then you've got this new channel of advertising that educates the public a little bit, maybe miseducates. Perhaps the argument could be made, but then now the public is advising their physicians and primary care people, and that may or may not be in their true best interest. But it sounds like this may be happening on the medical device front, and that can be a good thing if the cybersecurity issue is at least communicated, because I would imagine from the provider, from the hospital standpoint, they've got so many other priorities that I can see why that wouldn't be advanced any other way. Right,
exactly. And the media sometimes helps, but also sometimes hurts in this case. What we see a lot of is over-sensationalizing of the threats to patients, and it's almost the wrong threats. So there's a concept in cybersecurity that if you as a manufacturer become aware of a vulnerability in one of your products, you should alert the public to that and then release a fix. And that's a good thing. We should be applauding manufacturers that do that. But what we're seeing right now is the manufacturers who are doing that, every time they seem to do it, then news articles come out actually kind of blaming those manufacturers, saying, oh my gosh, can you believe this X device has 12 vulnerabilities? Avoid this device. And it should be the exact opposite. We should be applauding those manufacturers who are trying to do the right thing by telling the public and releasing fixes. And it's like the media is doing the exact opposite, which, yes, there needs to be awareness that this is happening, but we're painting the manufacturers that are trying to do the right thing in the wrong light. And patients get the wrong impression where they may go to the hospital and say, well, I read online that the X device is insecure and I shouldn't use it. And it's the exact opposite. They should actually be requesting that device because that tells me that that manufacturer actually took cybersecurity seriously. So that's kind of one issue we're having right now with kind of the media surrounding cybersecurity in healthcare.
Well, funny how the media can have and be a double-edged sword. I think this is an interesting intersection because a number of the people that I interview, they're branding experts. They are experts at how to keep your brand above the fray, even in difficult situations. And I'm just thinking about a particular interview with Melissa Agnes that I had, and she talks about being a crisis-ready brand. And I can't think of a more poignant example than that of an ethical, medical device manufacturer. I would imagine they would all be ethical to be able to be in that business. And the power of creating a strong brand and then preempting any issues that can happen. Not a perfect science at all, but I would imagine all of the principles of having an invincible crisis-ready brand would absolutely apply when you are in such a vital life and death and highly nuanced business as medical device manufacturing. Stephanie, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it actually it kind of reminds me of when we do what we call penetration testing, which is the ethical hacking where we actually, whale away on someone's devices and give them a report. One of the things we really talk about in the results is these are the things that are actual technical risks that really could cause harm. But then we have a whole other discussion about just kind of media or business reputational risks where we say, this is truthfully not a technical harm. The ability for someone to do this is so low. It's such a corner case. But if the media found out about this, they would roast you. And those are always really interesting conversations because then it's this real dilemma because med devices from, their goal is to make a safe device. And from a regulatory perspective, if it doesn't cause a safety problem, they don't need to fix it. And honestly, they shouldn't have to. But now you have all these cybersecurity issues that, while they don't cause a safety issue, they will absolutely be barbecued in the media if that issue were ever publicly disclosed. So it just leads to this real weird dichotomy of, you're trying to protect patient safety, but now you have this whole other thing to worry about of just what will the media say about me if they learned about this vulnerability, even though we know it's not a safety risk.
Well, we've been enjoying this conversation with Stephanie Domas. Her talk is called Protecting Medical Devices from Cyberharm. And we're going to hear more from Stephanie as we pivot over to you, Talk Universe, in the Blitz Round. Hey, Talk Universe. I hope you've been enjoying today's episode with today's guest. But you know what? Many people want more than that. Many people that listen to Be the Talk actually want to give a talk. And if that's you, you're not alone. Listen to the rest of this podcast. At the end, I'll have a free resource for you just for listening. And it's time for the Blitz Round with Stephanie Domas. We are about to ask Stephanie a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of her recent talk. Stephanie, you ready to go?
Absolutely.
So my first question, were you invited to speak or did you apply?
I was invited to speak.
So as you were preparing, were you more of a memorizer, more of an improviser, or more of a blender?
I'd say more of blending. I tried to memorize about 4 key points I wanted to make, and then I actually do better if I'm not memorizing something. I just knew the key points I wanted to make.
Now, what's a tip, tool, or technique that helped you?
For me, it was practicing a tremendous amount while just recording myself on the phone and listening to it back. I must have done that every drive to work for a few weeks.
Were you a opener? Were you a closer, or were you in between?
I was towards the end. I was one of the not the official closer, but one of the few that rounded out the program.
Stephanie, what was the most painful part of your talk that you had to cut out, maybe for a lack of time in preparation?
I was able to leave a smidgen of it, but I really wanted to spend more time reassuring people that while I wanted them to know this was an issue, I didn't want them to walk away scared. And I really wanted to reassure them that with all I know, being an expert in cybersecurity, I would still absolutely allow any of these medical devices to treat me or be implanted inside of me. And I was able to keep a smidgen of that, but I didn't want it to get too Crusader-like. And for time, I had to cut some of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, kudos to you, because that's the feeling that I got from the talk. As well, that, overall it's very safe, and good for you for not looking, hammering that so much that it would look like a bias or a commercial piece or something like that. Thanks for making it, educational as well as really interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a delicate balance, but I'm glad it sounds like it hit home where I was targeting.
Well, everything's a delicate balance. Here's my last question. This is a funny one, potentially. What was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened before or during your talk?
That's actually a tough one. I think the biggest thing is just I felt like my mind went totally blank. It was... While I give a lot of presentations at conferences, the TEDx style and it being more of a story about me versus a technical presentation was honestly one of the most uncomfortable things I'd ever done. And so my mind just went totally blank. I honestly don't remember being out on stage, but I watched the video and I managed to say what I meant. So you blanked out and got it all done. That's a great way. How can the rest of us do that? I don't know if it was just a certain level of fear and just all my practice took over at that point, because I don't remember being out there.
Well, hey, Talk Universe, that's why we have Be the Talk. Hopefully that'll happen to you as well. We've been talking to Stephanie Domas. Her talk is called Protecting Medical Devices from Cyberharm. If you want to watch that talk, it's going to be on YouTube. It is on YouTube. You can type it in, or you can go to our show notes page at BeTheTalk.com. You can also, at BeTheTalk.com, go to Stephanie's LinkedIn profile and be able to connect with Stephanie. And we'll be back in just a moment with the final word of advice. Hey, Talk Universe, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you want to give the talk to change the world, but you don't know how or even where to start, no problem at all. Go to BeTheTalk.com/get accepted for my new 5-day email course that'll show you how. Absolutely free. Just go to BeTheTalk.com/get accepted. And we're back with Stephanie Domas. What is the final word of advice for Talk Universe?
I guess I would say just always be curious about the devices that you're using in your life. Really do pay attention to what information you're giving them, and should you trust that device with the information you're giving it.
Well, Stephanie Domas, thanks so much for coming on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Be the Talk. For tips and resources to help you change the world, go to BeTheTalk.com. See you tomorrow.